Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Pittsburgh Sports Memories podcast. My name's Tim Hannon, and I am joined by my good friend.
Steve Word.
Hi, Steve. In this episode, we are going to look back at the year in sports 2007. We're calling this a forgotten sports year because 2007 was not a year where any of our sports teams won championships here in Pittsburgh. So, no one's walking around with a 2007 t-shirt or baseball cap or something, right? But there were a lot of significant events that happened in 2007 that we think are worth remembering. So we're going to go through those in more detail. But before we get into the year in sports, let's talk a little bit about what was happening in Pittsburgh in 2007. In 2007, Luke Ravenstahl is elected mayor of the city at age 27. He becomes the youngest mayor in the city's history. Whether or not he did a good job, we'll leave that for a different podcast.
I like when he change his name to Steelers Stall or something.
Yeah, or something like that, because they were playing the Ravens in the playoffs, I think, or
I
something
did.
like
I
that.
don't know why. Maybe I did look up what he's doing, and he's coaching football at North Catholic.
Is he really?
Yeah,
That's
and I think he's a teacher or something there too, or something else, or a district magistrate. So
Huh. Well, good for Mayor Luke.
yeah, that
For
and he
Mayor
had a
Luke.
great role in the was it the Dark
The
Knight?
Batman movie, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So.
Yes, he was the kicker, right?
Yes, he was. How appropriate.
Also in 2007, Allegheny County passes a smoking ban, but it is overturned in courts. So, Steve, in 2007, when you walked into a restaurant, they still ask you smoking or non-smoking.
Wait a minute, but we do have a smoking. So they just came back and rewrote it or
So,
something?
so in 2008, the year after this, the state passed a ban, and that overrode like all the county or local bans that people tried to pass and got overturned.
Wow, cool.
So it wasn't, but that wasn't until 2008 that Pennsylvania passed a statewide ban. So yeah, in 2007, there were still smoking indoors.
Telling people what to do with their bodies. It sounds like funny how certain groups of political people pick and choose how they want you to what they want you to do with your body. Not allowed to smoke, but you got to take other stuff. Uh huh.
Also in
Not
2007,
making a slippery slope
we go
argument.
down that slope. 76-year-old grandmother Marilyn Devine is convicted of robbing the National City Bank branch in West Mifflin.
How old was she?
76.
Wow. Maybe so short on Social Security that week.
Well, apparently her son was in financial trouble. The gun she used wasn't loaded, so they gave her house arrest. They didn't. Prosecutors declined to seek the mandatory 5 to 10 year sentence. They didn't exactly throw the book at her because
It would be like a life sentence at 76.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
just a bad decision, I think, on her part, a desperate decision. They kind of took it easy on her with house arrest, so that was nice. But yeah, don't rob banks even if you're 76.
Yeah.
Not a good idea.
Shows even, age is no, determiner of wisdom, I guess. Yeah. Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
So let's get to the year in sports, and we'll go chronologically, and obviously starting with January. And on January 5th, right at the beginning of the year, Steelers head coach Bill Cowher announces his retirement. It's called a resignation at the time, and there's all these theories that Cowher had a falling out with the Rooneys, and he's going to go coach the New York Giants next season or whatever. But none of that ever happens. And as of the time of this recording, Cowher indeed never does coach again. So it really is a retirement.
Good for him. I think, yeah, I honestly think he had enough. I don't see him pulling a Dick Vermeil and coming out of the booth and coming back. I really don't.
Yeah,
I think he's done. Good for him, man. He won his Super Bowl and rode off into the sunset. And congratulations, Bill Cowher.
you're right. I think it worked out for him. And I wonder too, remember his wife was ill. No one really knew that at the time.
Yeah, yeah. So
I'm sure
maybe
that
there were
factored
some
in.
personal issues. Wanted to spend more time with his wife. Good
Right,
for him, man.
right.
I mean, I think he's had like a great retirement. I mean, boy, if I could have that kind of retirement, I'd be all right. You can say whatever you want on TV football. Nobody's going to second guess you. You could be absolutely wrong and nobody's going to care.
Exactly.
Yeah. And he has like a rock star wife. Yeah, doesn't he have like a rock star wife now?
Yeah,
It's
he
like,
does.
he's doing all right, man.
So Cowher rides off into the sunset, as Steve said, but now the Steelers need a new head coach, and that's something that's akin to a Pope being coronated. In fact,
I think we see, the white smoke comes out of the offices at the South Side, I think.
pretty much.
Signifying a new Steelers. The Cardinals have voted. There's a new Steelers head coach.
Well, and as we talked about in our last Fun Facts episode, that it's even rarer than a new coach or a new Pope being coronated because
we've had three.
Times.
Yeah, I think since 1969 we've had 5 popes. Three.
Correct. We've had 5 popes and 3 coaches. Yeah.
Wow, nice.
Yep.
Like, good for you, Steelers, beating the Catholic Church or something.
So the Steelers ultimately go with 34-year-old Mike Tomlin, and Steve already covered all the drama behind that in a recent episode we did about Super Bowl 43. And Steve, you talked about how Wisenhunt went to Arizona. Russ Grimm supposedly was offered the job, but then he wasn't. So I'm not going to get into all that again. Go listen to Steve's detailed description of that whole drama. But some ground that we didn't cover in that episode was the reaction of the locals to this hire.
Who's this Mike Tomlin?
And it was, well, I mean, it was interesting because this really was, when you think about it, Steve, it was a risky hire because the Steelers had gone with young, unproven coaches the previous 2 times with Nolan Cowher, but the team sucked both of those times, right? Like in 1969, the Steelers were garbage. And in 1992, the Steelers were coming off basically just a terrible decade. So the risk was not super high. But here in 2007, they're 11 months removed from winning a Super Bowl. So to go with a 34-year-old guy that's never been a head coach, that was a risk. And the reactions, I kind of categorize the reactions into 3 categories, which is some people like it, some people don't like it, and some people completely go off the deep end.
Nice.
And there's no widespread Twitter in 2007, but the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette had a blog in gold message board. And thanks to the magic of the Wayback Machine website, you can actually go and read the messages posted on the day that Mike Tomlin was hired. And I pulled just a few of those off, a few of those deep end ones that I could find. One person said almost as big a mistake as cutting Johnny Unitas or not drafting Dan Marino. Another person said, well, Super Bowls are out of the question. All Steeler stuff in the garbage, not wasting my time following this waste of time.
Don't even give them a chance. It's like,
this is where people were. One person said, we're headed for another 30 years resembling the 1933 to 1969 era. Somebody else said we'll be lucky to go 2-14 next year.
What was our record? Our record was like 10-6, wasn't it?
Yeah, we won the division, but we were lucky.
2-14, 10-6. It's kind of the same.
Yeah. I mean, he was close.
Yeah.
And then my favorite one is this one. He says, my thoughts go out to Nate Washington, Brett Kiesel, and all the other players who were up and coming under Cowher. It's scary that the Rooneys would sell out their players like this. And Steve, I know that when Tomlin got hired, my first thought for sure was what will become of Nate Washington?
Well, he will definitely cash in with a big free agent contract, that's for sure.
So that was the people going off the deep end. And like you said, like people not even, giving him a chance. I don't know why that caused such a strong reaction. I'm sure that part of it was people were not happy and still aren't happy that we have a black coach. They would have rather had a white coach, and the people won't say that out loud. I know. And is that a big percentage of people? I have no idea. Probably not. Probably the bigger percentage is just the tendency we have in this culture to just have a hot take on something instantly and then never back down from it. So I think that might have been more of it. And the fact that there were so many candidates, I think people kind of wanted their guy. Like people wanted Russ Grimm or Ron Rivera or whoever, right? So when you look at the people who were kind of more in the I don't like it camp instead of the going off the deep end camp, I think a couple of main concerns people had. One was the thing I mentioned before, that some people just wanted an experienced coach, somebody that had been a head coach before, because this was a team that was capable of winning more Super Bowls, had a young franchise quarterback, and handing over the reins to somebody that potentially doesn't know what they're doing, it was a risk. There was another group of people very, very concerned that Tomlin was going to switch from a 3-4 defense to a 4-3 defense. Do you remember that?
He did it eventually. It just took him 10 years.
Yeah, and I mean that was just an interesting concern. People were so up in arms about that because that was the defense that Tomlin ran in Minnesota, and he's going to ruin who the Steelers are.
I guess, I mean, when you don't know the person, is he going to be smart enough to like stick with what's working? And that's what he did.
Yeah.
And, a lot of other coaches might have been like kind of dumb enough to do that. But
Well, maybe that's an advantage too of hiring somebody young, rather, because if you do hire somebody that's got,
yeah,
10
maybe
years
they're
of
set in their
experience,
ways, whereas
right?
he's going to like, okay, take a lot of Dick LeBeau's advice. Yeah.
But I just thought that was interesting. People were so married to the 3-4, and this is the Steeler way. And it's like, did you forget that we won 4 Super Bowls with a 4-3 defense in
Well,
the
yeah, but
70s?
I think I can see their point. Like, this is what we have. This is what's working. This is what the
Fair.
personnel works for it. And I think that's what Mike Tomlin looked at the situation and said, "Why am I going to mess? I don't even have the people. Like what do you do with Casey Hampton in a 4-3 defense?"
And that really goes back to having a Super Bowl caliber team and
Yeah,
not wanting to mess with that. Even though they had a disappointing season in '06, they still had all those pieces in place. So to your point, I think there was another group too that thought that Dan Rooney was just trying to prove a point about the Rooney rule, since the Rooney rule was his role.
I don't think that. I think he got surprised. I think he interviewed him for the to satisfy the Rooney role, but I think I've even heard quotes by him like, "Hey, you never know. Maybe a candidate comes in and wows you," and they were definitely wowed by Mike Tomlin. So
Yeah, and that was really the point of that role, was to give people the opportunity that maybe wouldn't have got the opportunity before, and then if they were the right candidate, like in this case Tomlin was.
well, now it's just it's it doesn't work. It's like a lot of great ideas that just don't work in the real world. It's
Right.
just you know hire the best candidate. I don't care about who they are, or ethnicity, or what boxes they check. But I know that's not a popular opinion anymore. Everybody's got to check a certain number of boxes. So
Again, to me, the point of it was that somebody may have never even got a chance, and like you said, now that person that you wouldn't have even thought to interview wows you, and you're like, wow, this is a really good candidate that we may have overlooked otherwise. And if that's the point, then that's a good thing.
but Tim, that's not how it works now. Now they just
I
give
know
token
it's a token.
interviews.
I
Just
know, I know. I'm saying that when it works, that's the point of it. Well, Tomlin ends up obviously taking the team to 2 Super Bowls. He does have the best winning percentage in the history of the team. He also underachieves with a very stacked offense in the 2010s and loses to some teams in the playoffs that he shouldn't lose to. So we won't get into the details. We've done that in our Three Coaches episode, another one to go back and listen to, about Tomlin's legacy compared to Cowher and Knowles. But that's how the year starts, is with a Mike Tomlin hire. And like I said, some people like it, some people don't, and
I
some
think
people
it's worked
go
out for the
crazy.
best for us.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
I
going to
think it's worked
complain
out
about a
too.
Super Bowl and another Super Bowl appearance. It'd been nice. It feels like we underachieved a little bit with that one group, but I
Yeah,
think I think that was on the players as much as the coach.
yeah. I don't know if Russ Grimm would have worked out better, honestly, or Ron Rivera or whoever. So I'll take it. Also, in the early part of the year, there is some drama with the arena. So what had happened back in 1999, Mario Lemieux had bought the Pittsburgh Penguins out of bankruptcy, and he does this knowing that the Pens desperately need a new arena. The Civic Arena, even in 1999, the Civic Arena is the oldest building in the NHL. And at the time when Mario steps in, saves the team, all the local politicians, of course, back him up. Hey, Mario, we'll get a deal done, just like they had recently for the Steelers and Pirates, to get them new venues. Well, fast forward a few years, and no one in state or local government has done anything for the Penguins. So the Pens go out and find an alternate solution. And what had happened was gambling was legalized in Pennsylvania in 2004, and part of that law mandated that a casino would be built inside the city of Pittsburgh. So the Penguins strike a deal with Isle of Capri casinos. And the deal is that if Pennsylvania awards a license to build the Pittsburgh casino to Isle of Capri, then they will basically build the city a new arena free of charge. What a great deal, Steve. No taxpayer money for this arena. There's going to be a casino here regardless. Why not solve the arena problem at the same time? It made perfect sense to everybody except the people in government, because government doesn't operate in the same reality as the real world does.
On a personal level, this is what opened my eyes to politics. It's weird that like I finally realized, like, I always wonder, oh, what's politics all about? This is what politics is all about. And I'm sorry, Ed Rendell. Ed Rendell is the problem. And he's not, he's just an example of the problem. Longtime Democrat Party insider with the Clintons, Hillary, and Bill, longtime guy. And all he does is come in and pound his shoe on the table like he's freaking Khrushchev and say, we're not going to act all tough with the Penguins when he gives the Flyers and the Eagles a brand new stadium in Philadelphia, because that's where Ed's from, and that's Ed don't give a crap about Pittsburgh. But and it was all about power and control, because they would have not had any control over who the Penguins would have hired in that new arena. They might have not had union employees. They wouldn't have owed the politicians anything. They could have moved out whenever they wanted. It was a bad deal for politicians and a great deal for the people. And so it was a bad deal. And when the people in charge don't represent the people anymore, and that's pretty much where things are nowadays, they don't care about all the issues they say they care about. They don't. What they really care about is being in power and telling who gets what, when, and where. And that's what this is all about. And so what do? They build an arena with taxpayer money and a bond issue, give the casino to, who was it? Jerome Bettis's group. And that guy doesn't even own, Barden doesn't even own that casino anymore. He went bankrupt and had to sell it.
Right.
It's just, and they built the casino without a stage or a venue. Like, who builds a casino? Like, what casino in the world doesn't have a place for like musicians to come in and stuff? Like, you used to go down to the casino and they would literally have another sign for like Garth Brooks, whoever's coming into town in Wheeling. They would literally advertise, because they never built until just the last couple of years a hotel and a like concert venue.
So yeah, what ends up happening is the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board, as Steve mentioned, awards the Pittsburgh license to a Detroit-based developer named Don Barden. And Barden wasn't even remotely expected to get the license, because he was kind of small time compared to Isla Capri and these other bidders.
Yeah, there was a group from Cleveland and
right there. I think Harrah's, like these big Vegas, these big time casinos. And Barden was kind of small time. And it ends up being a terrible decision because, again, as Steve said, about a year or so later, Barden ends up not having the financing for the project. And they eventually have to scramble to get someone else to step up and build it instead. And when they talked about what drove the decision, there were a couple things you're just shaking your head at. One was there was language in the state's gaming law that created diversity goals for ownership of casinos, and Barden is African American. So to your point earlier, Steve, about checking a box,
that's an excuse. That's an excuse. That's not. They don't care. They didn't care what color that guy was.
Oh,
he wasn't Mario. No, I don't think they did at all, Tim. What did I say? Power and control. This is a guy they could control, and that they didn't care. He could have been as white as anybody else, and they would have given him it. It just was an excuse. It was political cover. That's all that was.
I think they wanted to check a box, and again, like we talked about earlier, that's not the point of those things. The point of those things is to give opportunity, and I think you hurt the marginalized groups you're trying to help when you give somebody something that's clearly not qualified. And then when they made the decision, board member Jeffrey Coy is quoted as saying, quote, "A lot of us became tired of hearing how we were the ones to save the Penguins for Pittsburgh." So apparently spite maybe is also a reason they didn't give Mario the casino. To your point about Governor Randell, so the gaming board was independent. The governor had no.
Yes, he appointed Tim. He appointed
Well, here's what
people
he
on
here's
there.
what he did.
Oh, how appended? How come on.
Here's what he did, Steve. He had worked out this plan B. So because he had worked out this plan B ahead of time, which was totally unnecessary, right? That's kind of what Rendell did. And then the Gaming Control Board said that that also influenced their decision because, well, that's not the only way the Penguins can get an arena. So that's how Rendell, to your point about wanting to do it his way, that's how he controlled it. He gave the Gaming Control Board this, oh, don't worry, if it doesn't work out, we have something else.
He gave the gaming control board cushy jobs, and they owed their job to him. And if they didn't vote the way that he wanted, they were going to be gone.
Possibly, but I'm just saying,
if you believe anything else, I got a wall in China. I'll sell you.
my point just being that they basically made it where it was very easy for them to. I just don't understand why you wouldn't. This group's going to build you an arena, so why not just take it? But to your point, that's why they didn't, because it's like you said, it was a control thing. So after that decision, all hell breaks loose. Mario Lemieux, in January of 2007, he goes and visits Kansas City. Other cities that reportedly have expressed interest in the franchise include Houston, Winnipeg, Portland, and Oklahoma City, which is a hotbed of hockey.
The Houston Penguins would have been fun.
The Houston Penguins would have been great. So finally, the politicians step in and find a way for the Penguins to build their new arena without casino money. On March 13th, officials agree on a 30-year deal to keep the Penguins in the city, with a $290 million Uptown Arena scheduled to open in the year 2010. Mario Lemieux takes the ice that evening at the Civic Arena, and he says this.
Well, I do have an announcement to make. Tonight, I'm proud to announce that your Pittsburgh Penguins will remain right here in Pittsburgh, where they belong. Thank you, Pittsburgh. Have a great night.
Don't stop believing as long as Ed Rendell says it's okay. It's all right with me. It's if that just totally, like I said, that totally opened my eyes to how politicians are, and that's what it is. It is what it is. And
yeah,
whatever. I'm sorry. Let me get off my soapbox. That's always been a hot button issue for me, and like that was a big turning point in how I viewed politics.
And I don't think it's any one side or one party. I think they all operate.
Oh
like
no,
that.
they all do that. Yeah, I'm sure in Republican-held towns they do the same thing. Like if you don't play ball, they're not going to let you do it.
Right.
It's the mafia just with legitimate mafia. That's
yeah. It was ridiculous. The whole thing was ridiculous, and the decisions they made. They gave the casino to a guy that couldn't afford to build it. But I'm happy that the Penguins are still here. All right, let's talk about what happened in March. So in March, the Pitt men's basketball team finishes the season 29-8. Steve, do you remember who the leading scorer on that team was?
DeJuan Blair. I don't know. Sam Young.
Good guess. It's center Aaron Gray.
Oh, they were a little earlier. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Whatever happened to Aaron Gray? Yeah.
I'll tell you in a minute. Some other standouts on that roster: Sam Young, who you mentioned, Antonio Graves, Levance Fields, Ronald Ramon. Some names from that team.
You didn't say. You got to say Ronald Ramon. No, he was a great 3-point shooter.
He was. Yeah. They go into the NCAA tournament as the number 3 seed in the West Regional bracket. They beat Wright State in the first round. They beat VCU in an overtime game in the second round, and that sets up a Sweet 16 showdown with.
Was that UCLA? Yeah, this is kind of disappointing.
Yeah, and why that was a big showdown was because the head coach of UCLA is Ben Howland, who used to be the head coach for Pitt. He had left Pitt for UCLA in 2003, which really rankled a lot of people here in Pittsburgh. But Jamie Dixon became the head coach of Pitt, and he guides the program very well. And so now it's kind of like that mentor versus mentee. It's kind of a revenge game for Pitt.
We don't say the word mentee enough. Yeah,
We don't. We don't. It's a good word.
yeah.
Unfortunately for Pitt, UCLA does win that game 64-55.
In their defense, didn't they go on to play in the national championship game that year?
Yeah, they lost to
Florida. Yeah. Was that the first year or the second? I think that was the first year they lost to Florida, because they lost to Florida like back-to-back years.
Yeah, not in the championship game, but I think in the tournament they lost to Florida twice.
It was like Final Four championship,
right.
though. Yeah.
Yep. A few months later, Aaron Gray is selected by the Chicago Bulls in the NBA draft. He ends up playing in the NBA for about a decade, mostly as a backup, but
really,
still a
I
long
didn't
career.
realize. Yeah, I didn't realize he was that long in the NBA.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I wouldn't have either had I not looked it up.
He wasn't like a super great college player. He was a good player, but like I thought Blair was much better. Young was much better. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's a big guy. If you can do something serviceably, then you'll always have a job. In April, the Penguins wrap up a great season. They end the year with 105 points, and they qualify for the playoffs for the first time since 2001. And why that's significant is because between 1991 and the time of this recording, that was the only stretch of time where the Penguins failed to qualify for the playoffs, between 2001 and 2006.
Well, it might be approaching that again.
Yeah, we're recording this in the last week of the NHL regular season, and as of right now, the time we're recording this, Penguins, I think, are like 1 point out of playoff position. So we might have it here in 2023. But yeah, the Penguins had not made the playoffs there for which seemed like an eternity. And here they are finally back in the playoffs. Sidney Crosby leads the league in scoring. He wins the Hart Trophy as league MVP. Rookie Evgeny Malkin, who the Penguins had smuggled out of Russia earlier that year, wins the Calder Trophy for Rookie of the Year. Goaltender Marc-Andre Fleury wins 40 games. And 2007 even marks the first appearance of a young defenseman named Christopher Letang. It's a great season for the Pens. Their first-round playoff opponent is the Ottawa Senators. Ottawa's a veteran team. They easily dispose of the Pens in a 5-game series. It's disappointing, Steve. I remember being disappointed, but not really. Like I think we all knew that it was just the beginning of something special.
I remember they went to Ottawa and they were just like overwhelmed because like I don't know. I just remember they went to Ottawa and they just were not ready to go, like with the playoff intensity and the crowd and everything.
Yeah, they were a very young team, and Ottawa Ottawa ended up making the Stanley Cup Finals that year. They were just they
had Ray Emery, didn't they? They had the goal, yeah.
And so Ottawa was just a veteran team, but again, it was disappointing, but you knew good times were ahead, and of course they were. One other footnote here: after the season ends, the Penguins name Sidney Crosby as the captain. And that's significant because at that point, he's only 19 years old, and he's been the captain ever since.
Was Gary Roberts on the team yet? No, that was the next.
That was the year after.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Sidney Crosby named the captain in 2007.
Wow. He's been the captain a little bit there.
Yeah. And hopefully for a few more years to come. Also in April, the Steelers are coming up on their 75th season, and they announce a bunch of things they're going to do to celebrate that milestone. The first thing they announce is they're going to wear throwback uniforms for the upcoming season. And this was not the Bumblebee throwback uniforms. This was before that. These were like black shirts with yellow numbers, yellow helmets, and white pants. I don't know if anybody remembers those. They were kind of just like blah. It seems like whenever the Steelers go with some kind of alternate jersey, it's just kind of either like boring or ridiculous, like the Bumblebee ones. They announced that. They also announced they're going to have a mascot, and they march out this guy who's the creepiest SOB you'll ever see. I mean,
he's still around, Tim.
Oh, he's still around.
Yeah.
He So the mascot, he doesn't have a name at the time. They have a contest and announce a name later, but the mascot is now known as Steely McBeam, and he looks like Bert from Sesame Street if Bert gained like 75 pounds
Had
and,
some
and was
5 o'clock
hungover.
shadow. Yeah. Carried around the steel beam.
Yeah, yeah, just a freaky looking mascot. I never understood the appeal of Steely McBeam. He's frightening to me,
Steely.
but whatever. So yeah, that they announced Steely McBeam as their new mascot, and then finally, Dan Rooney releases a book called "My 75 Years with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the NFL."
Good book.
Yeah, which is an excellent read. I mean, Steve, yeah, it sounds like you would agree with me that we would
I've read it.
recommend that
Yeah,
to anybody.
yeah, like the story about Walt Kiesling, like after they cut him, like meeting, like they met Johnny Unitas on like West Liberty Avenue, and like they were driving down the street and they just like ran into him. Yeah, it's like
Yes.
crazy. That's a great story because of what it isn't it? It's the chief, Dan, and Kiesling, the coach who cut him, and like Johnny Unitas like pulls up there like on one of the red lights on West Liberty Avenue. It's like, oh, good luck, whatever you do next with your life, John. Yeah, yeah, how'd that work out for everybody involved?
Yeah, and that's what it's just chock full of stories and insight. I always thought, Steve, that the book should have been titled "My Father Was a Very Nice Man Who Had No Clue How to Run a Football Team." Is really what I thought the book should have been titled, because, and I don't think that was the point of the book. I really don't.
Yeah.
But I think you really get the insight of why Dan Rooney was so important to the team. I've said this on the show before. Dan Rooney and Mario Lemieux are by far the two most important figures in the history of Pittsburgh sports, because without Mario Lemieux, there's no Penguins. And without Dan Rooney, the Steelers still exist, but they're the Detroit Lions.
Holy cow. Wow.
Am I wrong? Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, the Lions might have had one up on them because the Lions have actually won a playoff game. So it's conceivably the Steelers could have never won a playoff game.
For real. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just Dan Rooney's the one that was responsible for hiring Chuck Noll. Dan Rooney's the one that was responsible for changing the way they did everything. The story in there, we've told this story before, but the story in there about how his father hired Bill Austin, who was the coach before Art Rooney.
Oh, because Vince said so.
Yeah.
It's like, he's a good guy. All
Vince
right.
Lombardi said he's a good guy. And Dan's like, well, I'm setting up interviews. We're going to do a nationwide show.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah, no, I hired Bill Austin. He was an assistant under Vince. And I called Vince. Vince said he's a very good coach. And that was the way Art Rooney ran the team. And Dan's like, no, we're not doing it that way anymore. And that's the only reason that the Steelers became the Steelers, is because of Dan Rooney. So again, go read that book for real. It's such a good book. And not only just because of insight like that, but like Steve said, just so many good stories in it. Let's fast forward to June, and that's when Major League Baseball holds their annual draft. And in 2007, the Pirates have the number 4 overall pick, and they have a chance to draft an absolute can't-miss prospect, a catcher named Matt Wieters. This is a guy who had a very celebrated college career, which isn't common in Major League Baseball drafts. Sometimes you're drafting kids that are like high school age. This guy had already had a full college career, and he's a guy, being a catcher, who could anchor your team for years to come. So he's going to fall into the Pirates' lap at number 4. Instead, the Pirates shockingly pass on Wieters, and they take a relief pitcher named Daniel Moscas, who A, wasn't projected to go that high by anyone, and B, pitches a grand total of, wait for it, 24 innings in his very brief Major League Baseball career.
Sounds like a legit number 1 pick.
Yeah, for sure. At number 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what had happened was Wieters was represented by Scott Boras, who they give this title of super agent. When you're represented by Scott Boras, you're going to make a lot of money, and the Pirates don't like to pay people money. So they draft Moscas instead. Wieters, he doesn't necessarily turn into like Yogi Berra, but he does make 4 All-Star games. He wins a couple of Gold Gloves. He has a pretty long and productive career. So the Pirates picked Moscas because he was going to be cheap, and that's how they operate the team. That's how they do things today. So that's why they did it. It was a total slap in the face to fans. Also on the board for the Pirates, interestingly, was pitcher Madison Bumgarner. If they really wanted a pitcher,
They probably could have got him for a lot less than
yeah,
Weir's wanted. Yeah.
yep. That's a guy who's another future All-Star and who single-handedly eliminates the Pirates from the playoffs 7 years later. So, oops.
Yeah.
But again, that's how Daniel Moskos was a relief. I mean, to me, it's very similar, Steve, to like when the Colts selected Andrew Luck, because Andrew Luck did not take them to a Super Bowl. He did not become Tom Brady or Peyton Manning, but he was a decent quarterback. And more importantly, that was the guy they had to take, because it was just any team would have. It was the can't miss. It was the right pick at that time. Even if he didn't turn into an all-time great, it was the right thing to do.
He was a pretty good quarterback though, till he got hurt.
Sure. So to me, it's very similar to Matt Wieters. He was good. He wasn't an all-timer, but he was very good, and it was the right pick. And that's what Baltimore did at the pick after us. They took Wieters, and it would be like if the Colts, instead of taking Andrew Luck, would have taken, like, I don't know, a backup safety that was projected to go in the 4th round. I mean, literally, that's the comparison. So. That again, that's the way the Pirates do things. That's where you talked about you realizing the way politics works in 2007. This is when I really understood the way that Pirates operate, and that's when I really didn't have much left in my heart for the Pirates to begin with. But that's when I just said, oh, they're literally just trying to sucker everybody. This is a joke. I can't support this. A bunch of other fans feel that way. Later that season, a group of fans organized a walkout protest during the game. I think they all walked out in like the 2nd inning or something. But it doesn't really. It was
the dumbest idea. It was a dumb idea. Like, why would you buy a ticket, give Bob Nutting money? If you want to have a protest, have 40,000 people literally stand outside the game and 5,000 people in the game with nobody spending any money on the game.
I think the idea was, and I'm not saying it was right or wrong, I'm just saying I think the idea was that it was more
like
of
a visual,
show.
Like a
the
visual,
TV
like, oh,
cameras,
look at all these people leaving.
Right.
Whatever.
You would, that would, the TV cameras would see that. You'd see that on SportsCenter or whatever. Like, it was more of a visual show, but I don't think that many people participated. And again, it didn't change anything. It just kind of faded into obscurity after that. And people still come, and people are going to come this year because Kutch is back, and yay. And
yay, bobbleheads. Yay, we swept the Red Sox. Woo, in April, but it doesn't matter.
Right. That's, and it's fun to go to the games, and they have all kinds of great food, and it's a beautiful park. And that it just keeps working. It keeps making money for Bob Nutting. So why would he change anything?
Yeah, much like Mike Tomlin, don't switch. When the business model's working.
There you go. So moving on to staying in June, I should say. The U.S. Open is held in Pittsburgh at the Oakmont Country Club.
Oh, are you a member, Tim? You're a member of the Oakmont Country Club, aren't you?
I am not, sadly.
You're not?
They have not invited me in yet. I've been waiting for that phone call.
I bet it just got lost. I bet they just by accident, total accident. It's an oversight on their part. Yes.
Agreed.
As for me, I would never join a club that would have me as a member. So, the Groucho Marx.
So the U.S. Open's held there. Pittsburghers turn out en masse for some golf. It actually sets the all-time attendance record for a U.S. Open. So that's pretty impressive. The result of that tournament, Angel Cabrera wins it by 1 stroke over Tiger Woods and Jim Furyk.
Cool.
So yeah, it comes down to the last couple holes, and Cabrera is your champion of the 2007 U.S. Open in Pittsburgh.
I don't think, has that guy done anything since?
He had a couple of. I thought he had a couple of majors there.
Okay.
It was short lived. I mean, he wasn't. I think golf. It's funny with golf. Like, some of those guys span, years and years. Like, if you look at like Tiger or Mickelson or guys like that, it's like that's some of those guys span years and years. Other guys kind of have these more short lived.
Yeah.
Dominance, you know what I mean? So,
like, they have like one really good year where like they almost win a Grand Slam, or even if they win a Grand Slam, and then it's got like they go back to either mediocrity or nothing.
Yeah. Yes. Very true. So I think Cabrera was in that category. Also in the summer of 2007, there's some controversy involving some medical findings. So there's two Pittsburgh doctors, Bennett Amalu and Julian Bales, who've been doing all this research into concussions and CTE. And in 2007, they present their findings to NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell at a league-wide concussion summit. And Dr. Bales later says that all of their research was, quote, dismissed by the NFL. And that kind of kicks off a very long debate over safety in football. The NFL kind of concedes over time that there may be an issue, and they do make a bunch of changes, at least designed to make the game safer. You could certainly argue whether or not that's been effective. That whole story is later documented in a movie called Concussion, where Will Smith plays Dr. Amalu and Alec Baldwin plays Dr. Bales. Steve, did you ever see Concussion?
Yes, I have. I mean, it's repetitive injuries. I mean, it's been going on in boxing forever, and we still do that. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You know what you're signing up for. It's like, what? I don't know what to say. It's like, it wasn't that shocking. You play a rough game. It's, fun to watch. But I think some of the stuff has gotten better, though. Like, in general, like, if you watch, like, I don't know that, like, it doesn't seem like NFL Network shows like really old games like in their entirety anymore. Like,
Doesn't seem like they celebrate hard hits either. Remember that used to just be like anytime they show clips, it'd be like, "Oh, look at this guy getting destroyed."
Yeah, like I remember the one play, and this used to happen all the time. Like, let's say a guy like made a really tough catch and he fell down. He was wide open, but like the quarterback didn't throw it great, and he kind of like fell down, but he wasn't touched down. Like, now you'll see a guys that come down and just touch him. Mm-hmm. Like, do you remember back then, like, people used to pile drive people on the ground? Like, they'd be on the ground and be like, boom, like, and it'd be like, well, that's part of the game. And they got rid of that, and that's a good thing, because that's unnecessary. That's definitely unnecessary. And they let that go on and that wasn't just the Steelers, that was league wide. Like, everybody did that. There were games, and two, it's still not called, like, I remember there was a game the Saints literally hit, like, I think it was Alex Smith in the head, like, in the playoffs, like, 5 times, and nobody cared. It was like, well, it's Alex Smith, who cares? It's like, it's just like weird stuff like that. But it's gone too far too. You can't legislate all the violence out of the game.
No, you can't.
That's what makes it football.
Yeah, to your point, I think they have done some things that have made it. It's just interesting because the two doctors there felt like they were completely just ignored, and the NFL poo-pooed it, but then the NFL eventually makes all these changes. So maybe they actually didn't ignore it. I don't know.
No, it's much better they don't hit you really. But here's my point, though, and I've said this before. Like, how's that any different than when a running back goes into the line and lowers his head and hits a defender? So, like, he's not getting a concussion because he's holding a football, but a defender can get a concussion because he doesn't have the football. So, like, what, the laws of physics are just based on whether you hold a football or not?
I guess the improvement is that those discussions at least happen now, whereas before you just played and you just kept going. And also, pulling people out of games. I think there's
I think that's the biggest, like, because, like, Steve Young definitely was a prime example of, like, and there were other people, like, they're too brave for their own. That's why, boxing, once again, is a perfect, they have, like, literally a fight doctor, right. And the referee, like, if you're out of it, can just be like, okay, that's it, over. Even if you are still standing, like, there's people just kind of, you're concussed, you can't go anymore. So
there's definitely been things I'm sure that have helped, but to your point,
like,
it's still a rough game.
The NFL's done that too. Like, they have basically now like a fight doctor, like a doctor on the sidelines that can pull people out of the games. So.
Yes. Let's go to July, where the Steelers open training camp, and usually training camp's pretty boring. In 2007, there's a lot of unexpected drama. So first thing that happens is Alan Faneca, the Hall of Fame guard, he's upset about his contract situation, and he comes out and says this, quote, "This will be my last year as a Pittsburgh Steeler. I've been asking since February for them to trade me. I've lived and breathed Steeler football for 9 years, and I gave them everything I had. I helped them win a Super Bowl. In my mind, I've earned the right to be treated fairly." And so what had happened was Faneca was going into the last year of his contract. he and the Steelers couldn't agree on a deal. And I think this is, Steve, sometimes there's a situation where like two things can be true at the same time. And I think this is a good example of that, because was Faneca right that he deserved to be rewarded financially after everything he had done for the franchise? I mean, he was an all-time great. He had helped them win a Super Bowl. He sprung Willie Parker on that 75-yard run in the Super Bowl. So did he deserve to be rewarded? Yes, absolutely. At the same time, would it have been smart for the Steelers to tie up a big chunk of their salary cap and an offensive lineman entering his 10th season at the expense of guys like Aaron Smith and Troy Polamalu, who they still needed to extend? I don't think that would have been smart either. So I think it's like one of those things where two things can be true at the same time.
Whatever. I mean, the market dictates what you can get, and he went to the Jets and got more money. So boo-hoo to you. So he got his money, and and he earned it. He earned it.
He did, and I get the idea of I've been on this team for a decade, and I think really what happened was the Steelers just didn't want him back, right? They knew they would have to pay him a lot, and they
couldn't afford to bring him back.
Yeah, they couldn't afford to bring him back.
They could afford to bring him back at a lower price, but
that would have been insulting to him, which also makes sense. I get that.
Not insulting. It's just he could get way more money. Like, if it was in like it's within like 5%, then I like it here or whatever. But I think it would. I can't remember what the Jets deal was, but it was significantly more money than the Steelers. So,
which is good for him. Again, like I said,
there's no loyalty in business. I mean,
there's not.
I think that's where sometimes the fans get, they're loyal to a player. And it's like, I don't have no problem with somebody going, he's got a family. I mean, not that, he's going to, oh my God, be out in the street. Alan Faneca will block for food or something. But at the same time, why shouldn't he get as much money as he can? I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't think either side was wrong here. And I think a lot of fans understood that.
He doesn't owe them anything. They don't owe him anything.
That's absolutely right.
And he went out and got a great deal from the Jets and made a bunch of money, and the Steelers had to find somebody else to replace him.
Right. So that ends up being 2007 ends up being his final season with the Steelers. So there's some drama there.
Chris Matthew, or who didn't end up replacing? I can't remember. It was somebody who wasn't even half as good. I remember that.
No, I mean we detailed how the next year they had the worst offensive line that they've ever had. So that did hurt losing him.
Yeah.
Also in training camp, another player who's upset is wide receiver Cedric Wilson.
Talk about a guy that has no leverage. Yeah.
Quote, I can't help it if the quarterback doesn't throw me the ball. I'm running my routes. I'm doing all the right things. I deserve a couple of passes here and there. End quote. He also says, Steve, that he's always open. And just the Steeler quarterbacks just aren't throwing him the ball.
Who's he, Terrell Owens? I'm always open. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, Cedric Wilson was a third-rate receiver.
He was okay. He was like decent. I mean, was he as good as Nate Washington? Probably not. But
well, that's what happened. The Steelers were worried about selling out Nate Washington to that guy's comment, so they had to throw him the ball instead of Cedric Wilson. So Cedric Wilson's. I think people.
This is before he got dismissed, I guess.
Yeah. It was the following year that he had the domestic violence incident that got him kicked off the team.
That sucks because he was he was one of those guys that wasn't like great, but he was clutch. It always seemed like he got open at the right moments, and that stinks that he couldn't control himself.
Yeah, I mean the Steelers did okay without him. I think they won a Super Bowl, so they were fine.
Maybe that would have been him instead of Santonio Holmes making the catch in the end zone.
No, it still would have been Santonio, but Cedric Wilson would have been on the sideline complaining because he was open.
Yeah, wide open, holding a cup of Gatorade.
Also, during that training camp, the Steelers had signed a running back named Kevin Barlow. And that was a feel-good story because Barlow was from Pittsburgh. He was a star at Peabody High School. And, of course, he was a big star at the University of Pittsburgh. Steve and I.
Wow. What year is this? 2008?
2007, Steve. Yeah. It's literally the whole theme of the episode.
My bad. I skipped ahead a year. I blipped. Wow.
We're not leaving this year, just for future reference. We're always in 2007.
You're confusing me. What year is it again? Who am I? What is my name?
So yeah, Kevin Barlow. I mean, you and I were big fans of Kevin Barlow at Pitt, and I remember being excited because the Steelers needed a guy to back up Willie Parker,
I don't remember this at all. Wow.
and Barlow
Yeah.
was tabbed as that guy. Well, the reason you might not remember it is because it doesn't go well. Barlow's real bad in the preseason games, and he's cut before the season starts, and he never plays again.
I think he was hurt, like, because he had a decent career with San Francisco before that.
Yeah, he had some
Yeah.
injuries, and I think he was just.
He
I don't know
just
if he was injured, but he was like done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like physically, just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, he just couldn't perform at
Right.
NFL level
Right.
because of his injuries. Yeah.
Yeah, so he ends up never playing after this, and that was a bummer because that would have been nice to see him like finish his career as a Steeler, but he just didn't have enough gas in the tank. Also, during that training camp, Jerome Bettis releases a book that's billed as having all these like controversial revelations about his time in Pittsburgh, and that gets all kinds of coverage on sports talk radio and in the local media, but like at the end of the day, there's really not much in there. Some of the quote unquote controversial revelations. He reveals that he was ticked off over losing his starting job to Eamon Zaraway, which okay, sure. Who wouldn't be? What football player wouldn't be upset about losing their starting job? He also says that he faked the timing of an injury in the summer of 2000 to avoid being cut.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I remember this. Yeah. Okay.
So again, he didn't fake an injury. He just faked the timing of the injury. He was injured. He just made it look like it happened during camp instead of before camp. I mean, what a scandal, I guess. He also says that he thought Cordell Stewart got a bum rap from the Steelers, which again isn't exactly a scorching hot take. So I don't know, Steve. I remember that it was like, oh, the bus. He's because Jerome Bettis was not a guy that caused.
No, he's not. He's more vanilla than that. He's not a
right. He's very vanilla. He doesn't ever cause problems, and it's like, oh, the bus.
I'm surprised he's not.
The bus
on,
goes
like,
raw.
I'm surprised he's not like on a national TV broadcast somewhere anymore. Like, I guess maybe he wasn't hot takey enough. I don't know.
This book was not, it's like, I don't know what else was in there. The bus wanted to change his number to 38 once, but the equipment manager talked him out of it. He switched from Pepsi to Diet Pepsi before the pregame meal. It wasn't, Jerome Bettis was not a guy that was going to have a tell-all book and have anything exciting in it, but it got a lot of attention at the time. I remember that. So yeah, a lot of like that's not normal for Steeler training camp to have that much excitement, but that one did in 2007. In the fall of 2007.
Well, I bet we're going to talk about the Pirates because they're probably up to something really exciting, aren't they?
No, we're done with the Pirates.
What? The Pirates? You mean
Yeah.
they're like having like 100 loss season again?
Here, let me back up. In April of 2007, the first week of the Major League Baseball season ends, and the Pirates are mathematically eliminated.
There we go.
That's this Pirate season.
There you go.
In the fall of 2007, though, there is a local high school football player who's taking the nation by storm. His name is Terrell Pryor. He is a quarterback for Jeannette High School. He leads Jeannette to a state title that year. He becomes the first player in the history of Pennsylvania high school football to run for 4,000 yards and also throw for 4,000 yards. And he's named the Parade National Player of the Year. It was really quite the phenomenon, Steve. I felt like it was almost like Bo Jackson-esque.
He was very good. I remember watching one of the high school championship games with him in it. He dominated the game. Jeannette was like weren't they like a single A or a double A?
Yeah,
so they were a smaller.
They were smaller school. He was really like a man amongst boys was how they described him often. He was very dominant. But I mean, his highlight reel, it was like everywhere. Just look at this play he made. Like I said, very Bo Jackson-esque. It was like, look at this play. Look what he did to this guy. And I mean, people were just. I've never seen before or since that level of hype at least over a local high school football player. Would you agree?
I don't remember. I'm too young for LeVar Arrington. Wasn't he pretty hyped?
LeVar Arrington was pretty hyped too at North Hills. Yeah. Yeah. So
I don't
maybe
know
on the
else.
offensive side of the ball.
I'm not even like I'm thinking like Tyler Palco or
Yeah, but see, Tyler Palco, it's different. If somebody's talented, it's one thing. If somebody has literally like highlight reel,
yeah, like national prominence. Yeah,
yes, yeah,
yeah, that doesn't have like yeah. I like once again I'm too young for Tony Dorsett, and I'm not sure that that even existed back then. So
that's right. That's true.
yeah,
That's another good point. Is this was and maybe even to your point about Arrington and guys from the '90s. This is the era of YouTube exists at this point.
yeah.
Right. Social media exists at this point. So maybe that's another reason why this really blew up the way it did. Uh, so Pryor, of course, is heavily recruited by all of the major college football programs. He ends up going to the Ohio State University.
So it goes to Ohio State.
He has a I don't know, like an okay career there, but it doesn't end well.
Did they
He's
win a
involved
national championship? I don't think so.
with Pryor? No, they did
No, they
not.
don't. Yeah, they didn't.
And then it doesn't end well because he's involved in a scandal over
This is laughable. This is
selling
laughable.
memorabilia that leads to Jim Tressel having to resign and Pryor dropping out of school. He ultimately ends up getting selected in the NFL supplemental draft by the Oakland Raiders, and his NFL career really doesn't amount to much either. I remember him switching to wide receiver at one point, but I don't remember him really having great success doing that either.
Yeah, he really. Yeah, I mean, he did okay at Ohio State. I mean, I like Jim Tressel's a very good coach, and that's a shame that happened to him. But
It wouldn't have happened today.
No, it was kind of BS what happened. I think he just retired. Like I thought I saw that Jim Tressel just retired as the whatever job he had at Youngstown State because he went back to that's where Jim Tressel was Youngstown.
Oh, he
State.
went back to YSU. Okay, I didn't
Yeah, for
that.
a while because yeah, he hired Bo Pelini at Youngstown State, and I'm not sure who their coach is now, but I think Mike Tomczak coaches there. But yeah, interesting. Yeah, I was always a big Jim Tressel fan.
Yeah, with the NIL stuff that they have now, that just
it was a joke. It's like Ohio State made billions of dollars, and they sell something for like $50. You're like, ooh, well, you can't do that.
Rules are rules, Steve. Rules are rules.
Yeah, who cares?
Well, I think again that the fair argument to me for those things, to me, the argument is always if it's a stupid role, do something about the stupid role. But if it's a role and you've gone into something understanding the expectations, same with like football players that smoke marijuana. It's like, and I know they don't care about that as much anymore, but when they did, it's like you could certainly argue who cares? That's not impacting their performance, certainly not helping their performance. It's not like taking steroids. Like it doesn't matter.
It's not really damaging
it
your
doesn't
body
matter.
in that way.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter. But
the NFL was so blatantly obvious too. They're like, okay, we're going to test you between March and April. Right. Maybe even the second week of April. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Right. Okay, dude, don't smoke a joint during the month of March. That easy. The rest of the year, you can fire it up all you want. But,
right.
Yeah.
But again, to your point, if you know if there's an expectation and you've agreed to the expectation, then you really can't. You don't have as much room to complain when you get punished for
right. Just take your punishment, like you said. Try and change the rule.
Yeah. So that's Terrell Pryor. Let's go to the month of November, where there's some huge controversy. This time over the turf at Heinz Field. So when Heinz Field, and Steve knows where this is going.
Yeah.
And he was there for it. When Heinz Field was built in 2001, the Steelers opted to go with grass for the playing surface, which was great because everybody hated the concrete AstroTurf at Three River Stadium.
I love playing football in a parking lot.
Did you ever walk on that turf, Steve?
Which one?
Three River Stadium.
Only when the Pirates were there for baseball. I mean, I guess it was the same
turf.
Yeah. Yeah. Was it like they switched it out between like the
No. It was a parking lot. It was terrible. So I mean, it was great grass field, but the problem was they didn't use like good grass. It was slippery. No one could kick on it. It was just a complete mess. And it all comes to a head on the weekend of November 23rd, 2007, because on the docket that weekend, on Friday, there's not one, not two, but 4 high school championship games to be played at Heinz Field on Friday. Pitt is going to play South Florida on Saturday, and the Steelers are going to play the Miami Dolphins on Monday night. So that's literally what, 6 football games on that field in the span of 4 days. So Steve, I know you were there for the Steelers Dolphins game. We'll talk about that in a minute. Were you there for the Pitt USF game?
Yes, I was. So when you walked in, you could see on pallets they had the sod on rolls waiting to be put in. And the field wasn't that bad on Saturday. It was like dry and kind of dusty, but the footing was good. And I think Pitt did win. Yeah, I think Pitt blew them out.
I don't even remember the result of that game. All I remember, I was there too. All I remember is, like, I didn't see it walking in. I actually saw it walking out of the stadium in the Great Hall, because they were, as everybody was walking out, they were starting to wheel those giant pallets into the Great Hall.
And they like took this tractor and they like plowed up the whole field.
And I was like, I remember this. I remember seeing those, and those guys were. I'm like, what are you guys going to do with those? You know, like I couldn't believe that's what they were going to do. They were like, and what they ended up doing was they put 2.5 acres of new sod. And they laid it, because there wasn't enough time to dig up the whole field. They literally laid it on top of the old turf.
Yeah.
And if you've ever planted grass from sod, it has to sort of like root in. And the final strip doesn't go down until Sunday night, which is less than 24 hours before kickoff of the Steelers Dolphins game. And it ends up being a complete dumpster fire, because there's heavy rainfall on Monday night.
Yeah. That's what kind of did it, yeah.
And the field is just a quagmire. Steve, you were at that game. I mean, can you describe it? It wasn't even a football.
It was mushy, and like it was ankle deep mud in some parts. They're lucky not. No, I don't remember anybody really getting seriously hurt. Like, and then there was, of course, the famous punt where it like nestled, like it dug in.
Like it didn't bounce. It literally the ball goes sky high into the air like a punt does. And the guy didn't field it, which means that
I remember everybody laughed. Everybody laughed. I think like they tried to make it right and do the right thing, but they should have just left the field how it was from Saturday. And it would have been muddy, but I don't think it would have been that bad. Correct. Like there were just parts of the field that it was ankle deep. It was bad.
Yeah, it was embarrassing. I mean, it was a real embarrassment for the Rooneys.
I think if it wouldn't have been on Monday night too, that was the problem. It was a national TV audience.
Yeah, I mean, that combined with the rain, combined with all the other games, it causes a huge stir. That game, no one scores any points until literally the final seconds, when the Steelers, I don't know how, Jeff Reed somehow kicks a field goal in that mess, and the Steelers win 3-0. And the last time an NFL game had gone that long without anybody scoring points was November 7th, 1943. So literally like World War II era football, where, you know, it was just muck and grind and they plow into the line and all that. That was the last time that a game had gone that long without anybody scoring points. So that was that was just a huge mess, a huge controversy. The good news was, I feel like that was kind of the breaking point where the team finally decided that they needed to do something different. And it seems like it's been pretty much okay ever since then, Steve.
I haven't noticed like it as bad as it, because the people used to fall on a regular basis, and I don't think it's as bad as it was. It seems like it's at least decent.
And the kicking doesn't seem like it's like, it just seems like a normal stadium you can kick in now for the most part.
Well, I think that's more, and when they built the luxury boxes in the closed end, that was the bigger factor.
That wind coming in from the river,
like the turf didn't help. But that was the bigger fact. Like in the open end, you really couldn't kick a 50-yard field goal. Now it's like everybody makes them because, you know, the Rooneys are, you know, got to make an extra buck. You know, it's like,
no more home field advantage there for the.
That's all right. We can call it Heinz Field again. So yay.
Well, as of 2007, that was the name of the stadium. So
no, we can call it Heinz Field. You didn't see that?
No.
Yeah, he resold the naming rights, so now it's. You know how like college stadiums have like, you know, it's like Bobby, whatever, the Field of Florida State's like whatever, Bobby Bowden Field or whatever, or something like that. Or it's Stoke Walker Field at like whatever their stadium's called. So now it's Heinz Field is the name of the field at Acrisure Stadium.
Okay.
You know, I'm thinking wisdom in the Rooney family skips a generation, but that's just my theory.
Why my son is a very nice man who doesn't know how to run a football team.
Yeah. So maybe his kids will go be a
There you
throwback
go.
to Dan. So
Well, let's wrap up 2007 with what happens in December, and we save the best for last because this is by far the most memorable event of the year. It is 13-9, Pitt over West Virginia in the backyard brawl. I'm not going to go into the full details of this. We did an entire episode about this. We just posted as one of our rewind episodes recently, so go back and check that out. As a very high level summary, what happened is that Pitt is a 4-7 team. They're a 28-point underdog. WVU's on the cusp of a national championship. They're on the cover of Sports Illustrated. They have the most high-powered offense in the country, and they had absolutely slaughtered Pitt each of the previous 2 seasons because Pitt just could not keep up with them. They were so fast. So this game being held at Morgantown wasn't even going to be close. WVU is on their way to the national title game, and somehow Pitt triumphs by the infamous score of 13-9. Steve, I watched this entire game on YouTube recently. Like, I literally watched the entire game. And even knowing the outcome, I still couldn't believe it. Like, I was like waiting for WVU to just break the game open and take a 3-touchdown lead. Like, I even knowing how it ended, I still can't believe it happened.
it really turned on that third quarter. Like that they kept the ball. That like when WVU fumbled the opening kickoff, that really killed them because Pitt kept the ball, I think, the whole rest of the third quarter.
Yeah.
And
That made a difference, a huge difference. I think Pat White getting hurt made a difference too, but I don't think that was what single-handedly lost the game for West Virginia. I mean, they had so much talent on that team. It wasn't just all Pat White. So
well, Pat McAfee kicked a couple missed a couple field goals too.
that hurt too. Yeah, that definitely hurt. So like the Mike Tomlin hire, like I said, I because we covered that in a previous episode, I was trying to look for like a different angle on this, and what I came up with is I tried to think of what are the top 5 shocking events of any kind in Pittsburgh sports history, and I'm just talking any event. So not just the outcome of a game, but like a draft pick or somebody getting fired or something like that. And I'll ask you, the listeners, to think of yours as well. So I tried to rank, okay, where does 13-9 fall into that list? And here's the list I came up with, Steve. I had this, my number one most shocking event was Roberto Clemente's plane crashing. I don't think you can really top one of the greatest players in the history of Pittsburgh, who's still playing, who had just gotten his 3,000th hit, dying in a tragic New Year's Eve plane crash. That's probably got to be the number one most shocking thing that's ever happened in Pittsburgh sports. I put 13-9 as my number 2 because I just can't think of anything else more shocking. I put the Penguins losing to the Islanders in 1993 as number 3.
Definitely. Yeah.
I mean, that was very shocking because that team was so good. Jerome Bettis fumbling at the 1-yard line. And then the Tony Pena trade in 1987, the Pirates trading Tony Pena, who is their best player. I put that as my number 5. So that was my kind of my most shocking events. Steve, anything that
the Cabrera hit, the Cabrera hit in Game 7 was definitely, I don't know, shocking.
Yeah, it's Bream scoring the run. You definitely put that up there. Like that, the combination of those two guys combining to make that play happen.
I would say the Steelers beating the Colts in that playoff game, and that was like crazy.
That's a good one. The Steelers losing to San Diego in the championship game. Maybe you put that up there too.
Yeah. The ghost of Stan Humphries, huh?
Yeah.
Trying to think of somebody else. I don't know. The pirate drug trials were probably pretty shocking.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. I mean,
and all the stuff that happened around there with the mascot being involved, and you definitely put that up there. But yeah, that's what I was trying to think of is what again, none of those things to me tops this game because this was just. I feel like if they played this game 1,000 times, West Virginia wins 999 of them. I really do. Like, it's just
right there, Herb Brooks. We play them 10. They might beat us 9, but not tonight.
Well, that's what it was. It was a miracle win. That's literally what it was. So again, all these years later, to me, that's the pinnacle event of 2007. So that's the year in sports. Like I said, a lot of stuff happened. No Super Bowls, no Stanley Cups, nothing like that, but a lot of significant things that did have an impact on Pittsburgh sports for years to come. Steve, any final thoughts here on 2007?
Ed Rendell sucks.
Duly noted. Thanks everybody so much for listening. Thanks for supporting the show. Please give us a review on whatever podcast service you listen on. Please check us out on social media, on our website, and we'll see you next time.